Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to give you the essential context and the really high-value insights from sources shaping our world. And today, well, we've got a big one. We're tackling excerpts from Yuval Noah Harari's, really sweeping analysis, Homo Deus.
It's quite a book. Harari basically lays out this idea that humanity might be on the cusp of a massive transformation.
Right, moving from Homo sapiens, that's wise man, to potentially Homo Deus, human God.
Mm-hmm. The argument is that science and technology, especially things like AI and bioengineering, are accelerating so fast they could fundamentally change us.
Giving us these sort of superhuman abilities like longer life, designing our own evolution, immense power. It sounds like science fiction almost.
It does, but Harari grounds it in current trends. He's looking forward based on where we are now.
The stakes feel incredibly high. Okay, let's unpack this then. But maybe before we jump into the future human, the upgraded model, we should probably touch on what Harari says made us, Homo sapiens, unique to begin with.
Yeah, that's crucial. His core point is that it wasn't just about bigger brains or walking upright. I mean, those mattered. But the real driver was our mental power, our critical thinking. And maybe even more importantly, our ability to constantly change our social structures. Economics, laws, religion, politics, these complex systems.
Right, and the engine behind building those systems, it's language, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But not just talking.
Exactly. Language is the tool, but its power lies in creating what Harari calls shared fictional realities. Or shared myths, you could say.
Okay, like what do you mean by fictional realities?
Well, think about things like money, or nations, or corporations, or human rights. They don't physically exist like a tree or a rock.
They're ideas we all sort of agree on.
Precisely. And believing in these shared fictions allows millions, even billions of strangers to cooperate flexibly. No other animal can do that on such a massive scale.
So ants cooperate, but it's rigid, hardwired. We cooperate based on stories we tell ourselves.
That's a good way to put it. And this allows for incredible knowledge transfer, sharing complex ideas, experiences, techniques across generations. That's what fuels civilization's rapid progress.
The sources also mention something else key, our sense of time. Temporal awareness.
Yes, that's the second big cognitive difference. The ability to think about the past, understand the present, and actively plan for the future.
It seems simple, but you're saying it's fundamental.
It really is. Think about it. You can analyze past actions, maybe financial decisions, and use that analysis to plan for the future, like buying a house years down the line.
Okay, yeah, you're not just reacting to the immediate environment.
Right. This allows for long-term projects, complex planning, investment, legal codes, all based on predicting and shaping the future. A dog doesn't plan its retirement.
No, definitely not.
So you combine that future-oriented planning with the power of shared stories, and you see why human evolution became less about physical changes and more about upgrading our tools, our technology, and our social systems.
Okay, so if our species' advantage came from our minds and our ability to organize through these shared ideas, then the next step Harari explores is, what happens when we start deliberately upgrading those minds and bodies ourselves?
Exactly. We shift from evolution by natural selection to, potentially, evolution by intelligent design, our own design.
Right. And this is where it gets really interesting, and maybe a little unsettling. Harari points to three big technological waves driving this.
Yeah, three pillars, you could call them. The first one is probably the most talked about right now, genetic engineering.
The self-editor. Things like CRISPR technology.
Precisely. And the sources emphasize this goes way beyond just fixing genetic diseases, which is already happening, of course.
You mean into enhancement, actively improving ourselves?
Absolutely. Once the tech matures, the possibility opens up to, program our own biology.
Yeah.
To choose traits.
So not just eliminating cystic fibrosis, but potentially selecting for, say, greater strengths or higher intelligence or even a much longer lifespan. Perpetual youth, the sources mention.
That's the potential, yes. We could move from being products of our genetic history to being the engineers of our own biological future, editing our own code.
Wow. Okay, and that idea of longer lifespans links directly to the third pillar you mentioned, biotechnology and longevity.
That's right. We're not just talking about adding a few extra years here and there. This is the serious pursuit of radically extended life, maybe even indefinite life, through things like advanced stem cell therapies, tissue regeneration, perhaps even cryogenics down the line.
Harari makes the point that death used to be seen as this metaphysical problem, right? but now science increasingly views it as just a technical problem to be solved.
That's the shift in perspective, a series of technical glitches in the biological machinery that theoretically can be fixed or bypassed.
Okay, so we've got fixing the body with gene editing, extending its lifespan with biotech. But the second pillar you hinted at feels like the biggest leap. Artificial intelligence and robotics. The supermind.
Ah, yes, this is potentially the most transformative. It's moving beyond just using AI as a tool like we do now with search engines or translation apps.
You mean merging with it?
That's the radical idea, direct integration, brain-computer interfaces, for instance. The possibility of linking the human mind directly to AI systems.
Okay, hold on. What would that actually mean? Like instantly downloading information?
Potentially, yes. Imagine bypassing the slow process of reading, studying, memorizing. Instead, you could instantly access and process vast amounts of complex information at speeds we can't even really conceive of now.
That changes everything. Learning, decision-making. What would it even mean to be smart then?
That's the question, isn't it? It could lead to what the sources term super-intelligent beings, entities whose cognitive abilities are just fundamentally different, operating on a completely different level of problem solving.
It feels like that alone could create a split in humanity. Those who are augmented and those who aren't.
That's precisely the concern Harari raises, and it leads us into the darker side of this potential future.
Right. This incredible power, self-edited bodies, extended lives, minds linked to AI. It sounds amazing, but Harari, being a historian, is very focused on the potential costs, the danger.
He definitely is, and the warnings are pretty stark.
So what does this all mean for society if these technologies become reality? Where are the big pitfalls?
Well, the most immediate and maybe the most frightening prediction Harari makes is about inequality, a new kind of inequality.
Not just rich versus poor, but something deeper.
Exactly, a biological divide. The sources warn very clearly, if these powerful upgrades, the gene editing for enhancement, the AI augmentation, the life extension treatments, if they're only available to the wealthiest elite,
then you get a literal biological gap between the enhanced and the unenhanced.
Yes, an insurmountable gap. The enhanced humans could have significant advantages in intelligence, health, longevity. How could natural humans possibly compete in the economy and politics anywhere?
It creates this terrifying feedback loop where wealth buys biological advantage, which generates more wealth.
Harari essentially calls it a kind of economic eugenics. Not state-sponsored, maybe, but driven by market forces. The rich get richer, smarter, healthier, and live longer, while everyone else gets left behind.
That could literally split humanity into two different species, biologically and economically. The potential for social unrest seems massive.
Unprecedented, potentially. And that's just the inequality aspect. There are also huge moral and ethical control issues.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about using genetic engineering not just on yourself, but on your children. If we gain the power to truly program our offspring, what stops society or parents from creating humans optimized for specific roles or traits?
Removing choice, removing individuality for the sake of some perceived perfection or efficiency. That's chilling.
It raises fundamental questions about freedom, identity, and what it means to be human if your core traits are chosen for you before you're born.
And then there's the AI side of the ethics problem.
Right. Delegating complex moral decisions to machines. The classic example is the self-driving car in an unavoidable accident. Does it swerve to hit pedestrian A or pedestrian B, or does it sacrifice its passenger?
Can an algorithm truly make an ethical choice in a situation like that? Can we program morality?
And who gets to program it? Whose values are embedded in that code? Harari stresses that these aren't future problems. We need rigorous ethical debate, regulation, international agreements now to steer these technologies responsibly.
So this has been quite a journey. We started with what makes us Homo sapiens, our language, our shared stories, our grasp of time.
And we've explored the potential path through gene editing, AI fusion, and biotech to becoming Homo Deus, self-engineered, potentially immortal, super-intelligent beings.
But it comes with these huge warnings. The risk of a biological class divide driven by wealth, and profound ethical dilemmas about control and morality.
Yeah, the dissolution of biological equality is perhaps the biggest specter haunting this future.
Harari's point seems to be that the challenge isn't just achieving these godlike powers.
It's ensuring they don't break humanity apart. Access is key. If these upgrades aren't available broadly, the majority could become, as he puts it, not just economically unequal, but biologically irrelevant.
So the final thought we want to leave you with, building on Harari's work, is this. What will it actually mean to be unenhanced? Just a regular natural human in a world where some people might be transforming into Homo Deus.
What does that future look like for the vast majority?
Something for you to think about. We'll see you on the next deep dive.